Okay. Hopefully, those of you who did interviews, and I know a lot of you did, hopefully you were able to take some time and start to think out your three-column chart and what kinds of things would be analysis in your case. This is going to be our homework assignment for tonight. So as I'm going through this, if you use this strategy, you should be taking a moment to see how this is going to look for you. Every single person has a different topic, so it's going to look different for every single one of you. Let's move on to the next strategy though. Observation was another option that you could have chosen. And this was the actual option from the student essay. He went into a toy store and just observed what was happening. If you are doing an observation, if you are going to a car dealership to see how people are reacting, if you are in a technology store and you are trying to see what kind of things people are buying, if you are at a cafe and you are watching people on dates to see how they behave towards each other, you need to think about a few things ahead of time. First, are you going to be a participant or are you going to just observe? So sometimes if people know they're being observed, they tend to behave differently. But if you're participating, if you are taking part in it with them, then you might not be able to observe as much as you could as an outsider. So you need to decide if you're going to participate or just observe. Your goal during the observation is to record as much detail as possible. It's always better to have too much detail rather than not enough detail. When you are doing the observation, you're basically looking for cause and effect, why things are happening and what things are happening that may lead to other things. For the observational data, it would be similar to the interview notes. The textbook says that you would want to include people, places, and events here, as much physical detail as you possibly can, and then analysis of what's happening over here. And so this would kind of be the causes and then the effects. I'm not sure how many of you chose observational data, but there's a very good chance you'll be doing observational data in the future. So keeping a chart like this, or at least practicing it, would be a good idea. Since I don't think many of you chose this strategy, I'm going to move straight on to the next one because I know a lot of you were doing surveys. So with a survey, there's a few things to think about. It's important to, ahead of time, select a target. What kind of people, what group of people you want to focus on. You want to both get a range of people, but you also want to focus specifically if that's appropriate. So if you are trying to get information about college students, you want to make sure that you get a variety between men and women, between freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors, between people of different majors. You want to select a broad target, but you also need to have that focus of college students. So think about how you can both narrow it and within that narrowing, get an equal distribution. Typically, surveys use familiar question types. Our textbook went over the basic ones: multiple choice, rating something based on a numerical scale. If you have confusing questions or confusing question types, then the people responding to the survey are less likely to follow through with it. So you want to keep things as simple as you can for the people who are helping you. Compose a few key questions, and remember, you're keeping your hypothesis in mind here. All of these questions should relate back to either proving or disproving your hypothesis. And finally, the textbook advises to avoid against bias, because your questions are already biased because you have a hypothesis in mind. So as much as you can, you want to make them neutral so that you're not leading the people who are responding to answer the way you want them to respond. So try to keep a lot of neutrality in there. Okay, so once you have everything planned out and you have your questions set up, you want to distribute widely. So I mentioned getting people from different majors, different class years, different genders. the more answers you get, the more reliable the information will be. So you're trying to you're trying to send this to as many people as possible, but still make sure that you're getting quality results. When you start sending it out beyond your immediate group, when that group sends it out to more people and that group sends it out to more people, you have less control. So of course you want the most answers that you can possibly get, but you also sort of want to have an understanding of who the people are who are actually answering. As you get the information, you want to record it, and you want to take note of any pull-out quotes. So things that you might want to include in your essay, you should start to separate those out immediately. Okay, the survey data needs to be recorded. If you have quantitative data, that's fine. You should put it into some sort of chart or table. The main variable is usually on one axis and the result is on the other axis. And Microsoft Excel has many tools for this. So for example, if part of my survey was how many commercials do college students see each day, I can break that up by men and women. If I wanted to, I could break it up by majors or age groups or anything I wanted. It's a good idea to total it. I've decided to make mine and also turn it into a percentage. So if you are familiar with Microsoft Excel, you can start to put this information in here. I think I said 16 and 22. You can automatically sum those things so that when you add your information, you can have the formula set up in there. I want to also do percentages. And I can, change the format here to a decimal to, if this was money, or I can keep it as a percentage. I can expand the decimal point as far as I want it to go or decrease it. Oops, nope, now I'm on this one. I want to have a percentage here as well. I want to make sure that it's showing as a percentage. There are a lot of different things that you can do with the data. You can make pivot tables, you can do a lot of different things in Excel. So if you're familiar with this and you're familiar with, I'm just going to drag this formula over so that I have the total percentage. If you're familiar with this, you can do a lot with your charts and graphs, and you can make different kinds of graphs, and you can add color and things like that. So don't be afraid to put it into into Excel. When I was in my accounting major, I had to take many classes on Excel. So if you have questions about it, I can probably help you out. But let's go back to the document. Hopefully you don't have too much trouble creating a chart. But again, just like how I had analysis in the last two strategies, I would need an analysis in my observational data, and I needed analysis in my interview chart. I still need to include that same kind of analysis here. So I put it at the bottom. You can put it wherever you want, but I kind of needed to state what this data meant. So obviously it means that women are watching more commercials, and I was able to quantify that and say 16% because I had the percentages over there. So this should be pretty straightforward. It will depend on the type of information that you have, but I would like to have some kind of little summary down there. Qualitative data is a little bit harder because those are the kinds of things we were talking about in interviews and observations. You're really trying to break down the answers for the qualitative data into different categories, positive and negative, or the higher end and the lower end. Or you're looking for patterns of answers. So people are answering in this kind of pattern, or they're on this range or spectrum. You still want to identify quotes that you might use, phrases that are important, and pull those out. So the qualitative data will probably be a lot more like this. What is the data and what is your analysis? Okay. I just want to review that for all types, it's important to go over your notes as soon as possible and fill in any gaps, especially with observation and interview. You will need to follow up if necessary for all types. There will be other questions that you want to ask or things that you need to verify. Even potentially with the surveys, there's things that you want to know. When you get done with either your 3-column chart or your 2-column chart or your table or whatever it is that you're recording your data in, I would like each of you to include a summary with the 3 or 4 key insights. What are the main results? What are the most important results from this field research for your hypothesis? So what are the key things that you came up with or that were proven through this? Okay, all right, so then the very last thing, we've already talked about this document quite a few times, but you're going to put all the things that we've done for field research into one clear and cohesive document. And I have them numbered here, so I'd like for you to number them when you turn it in as well. For the first thing, I'd like to see your hypothesis at the top of the page and just briefly in like one sentence, what do you hope to find out from this field research? I interviewed this person to find out blank. I conducted this survey because I was hoping to find blank. In number 2, describe your methods in detail. If you just want to number your methods, that's fine, or bullet point them. I've provided notes or comments to every single person who submitted their field research, so you should have something to go on as far as what I'm looking for. For the next section, you're going to list your questions or observation focus. So if you had a survey or interview, I'd like to see what questions you asked, just the exact same way you asked them. For number 4, that's going to be your table or your chart for your results, including your analysis in the final column or at the bottom. And then number 5, a summary of the key insights. What are the main things that you learned? As with every assignment in college, it should be Times New Roman, 12-point font, double-spaced. You can have a 4-line header at the top that shows your name, course, date, and assignment. Okay, if you have questions about this, please write them down and bring them to class, and we can discuss all 3 strategies and then how to record them when we meet today. All right, I will see you guys soon.